Hi, everybody, and welcome to Friday Night Flock Talk. I'm Robin Sullivan of the Leather Elves. So it's been a little bit, so we're going to have to do the reminders and introductions again. Um, as always, you can like us on Facebook and you get notifications. You can check our Facebook page, the Leather Elves Facebook page, to catch surprise sales, pop up events. You can follow us on Instagram and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. So there's a lot of different ways to tune into the Leather Elves. Um, Also, the Rockstar Tour, we're just about ready to announce the route. But if you've got somewhere that you think we should visit, please let me know. Please let me or Carrie Ellen know so that we can add them to the list. So tonight I have an old, and by old, I mean we've known each other for a while, friend as a guest. And it is really a pleasure to have this person on. So I'd like to introduce to you Jamie Whittaker. Hi, Jamie. How are you?
Hi, Robin. I'm good.
Good. So I have your bio, and it's pretty impressive. But I'm going to read it because you know, being an old friend, you understand that memorizing things doesn't work so well
Oh,
anymore.
yeah.
Okay. Jamie is a certified avian behavior consultant with over 30 years of experience working with parrots and other birds. So you started when you were like 5.
Right.
Jamie Jamie owns a specialty bird store in Texas, ABC Birds, and she does in-home behavior consults locally as well as telephone consults nationally. Jamie has successfully completed Dr. Susan Friedman's Living and Learning with Parrots course, as well as the professional course Living and Learning with Animals. She is a certified member of the International Association of Animal Behavior Consultants and a professional member of International Association of Avian Trainers and Educators. She has completed the Certified Avian Specialist course with the Pet Industry Joint Advisory Council, now known as Pet Advocacy Network, as well as American Federation of Aviculture's Fundamentals of Aviculture 1 and 2. Jamie is past president of American Federation of Aviculture and has been the conference chairperson for the past several years. And you do an amazing job at that. So that's a lot.
It is. That sounds tiring.
Do you have any free time ever?
Yeah, because, yeah, I'm not in
Yeah.
the store very much anymore. So I play video games on my phone.
Oh, nice. So I'm trying to figure out how to put ads on those video games. I haven't figured it out yet, but
I
I'm working
know.
on
I'm
it.
trying to figure out how to get the ads off of them. So,
No, you want to see Leather Elves ads. Those are the kind of ads that are going to
sure.
be
I
up there.
want those ads. I want those
All
ads.
right. So we're going to talk about, I asked you to talk about Forever Homes because that was your presentation at AFA. And as I posted it, we got some comments on the post itself, and people were like, "Well, I hope you're gonna, trash that term, and I hope you're gonna set people straight." So, Forever Homes has a lot of triggers for people.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of the terminology forever homes.
no. So,
Also, not a fan of the terminology rescue.
right? I mean, and I think we get hung up on that kind of stuff
Yeah.
sometimes too. Because we all grow up with certain definitions of things, right?
Yes.
Forever. What does forever mean to you? It might mean something different than it means to me, or happy. So I'm doing a presentation on Sunday for the Pet Bird Association of Virginia, and it's about what makes a happy bird. And
Mhm.
happy can look so different everywhere. Um, so before we kind of jump into what you talked about at AFA, in the wild, what does a forever home look like for a bird?
Right. And in the wild, they are in the wild. They fly around during the day, collecting, um, foraging for food, and being around their flock mates, and being with their mates, and sometimes of the year they breed and hang out in a nest.
Yeah.
We're all creatures are designed for reproduction. So that's always in their mind to be safe and to have a safe place to live and a safe place to raise children.
Mhm.
That's what the bird sees as a forever home.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
mean, and Nick,
not the home we provide.
no, and Nick says here, and they're avoiding predators when they're in the wild.
Yes, they're
Um,
avoiding predators. They're meeting with other birds, being around other birds, looking for new places to eat.
yeah.
Um,
Okay, so some people may not be familiar with how it works in the wild, and that's okay because a lot of times we just kind of think about what's in our home.
right.
Um, Nests in the wild. Some birds come back to the same nest, but all don't, do they?
No, they don't all, but I think when they can, if they have a good, suitable nest site in their area,
Hmm.
there's no reason for them not to return to it. If
Right.
there's been problems, if the trees cut down, if there's been habitat destruction, they
Yeah.
they really can't return to the same place. They come back and go, oh, like you going away to your winter home and then you come home to your summer home and you're like, wait a minute, the beach
Yeah.
is gone. My home has fallen into the ocean. So that certainly those things happen.
Yeah.
But that is a natural home for a parrot.
Well, and I mean, when you think about how habitat works, the tree doesn't stay the same all the time, you know?
Right,
I mean,
right.
you drive down the road after any kind of storm and you've got limbs down. You've got, and maybe it's an older tree and it falls down. And I think that's part of living in the wild. That's part of,
Yes, maybe a family of predators moved in while you were gone.
yeah,
So they
yeah.
don't, birds don't necessarily breed every year. They look for a safe environment with a lot of food availability, which is one of the reasons that most birds breed in the spring because
Mhm.
there's such a bounty of food available. Well, if you've had a really bad winter season, really cold season, and your growing season is delayed, then the birds may not breed that year. Um, it's not required, and that happens in captivity too. People think that a breeder has a pair of birds and they're going to have 3 or 4 babies every year, year after year after year, but not necessarily. They'll have babies sometimes, and then sometimes they're just like, well, I don't really like how the weather is right now. I think there might be a hurricane or a tornado coming, and maybe
Yeah.
we won't. They changed our food. I don't know. Maybe our food is going to go away. I don't know.
Well, I
They
mean,
moved
and
in
that's
some
like,
neighbors next to us that sound kind of scary. So there's a new cat walking around. There's a big dog they suddenly got. There are a lot of reasons that a
yeah.
bird may decide maybe not this year.
Yeah, and like in the wild, I mean, you think about like the kakapo. So if the
Yeah,
remu fruit is not plentiful, they're not going to breed. They're just
right.
not going to do it. So Douglas says the eclectus will try and keep the same nest if it feels safe. The
Yeah,
female may even spend months in the nest so no one takes possession. So, okay, so the eclectus are they're an example of that's their forever home if
right.
they can.
If,
So yeah, no,
if
and I think that's part of it.
if a
So
storm doesn't blow it over, right?
exactly. Um, so Nick, we have some slides from Jamie's presentation, right? Okay.
So how do you define a forever home? Um, are they? I think a lot of times with birds, we have become so focused on creating perfect environments that we
Mhm.
all have in our mind a certain set of parameters that is the perfect home for birds. And the fact is, there is no perfect home. I mean, I don't know anybody who really thinks that their home is perfect. They um, are constantly trying to improve their home. And I don't, birds adapt to things. We're talking the creatures that the dinosaurs that adapted and survived when all the other dinosaurs were knocked out. So they are very adaptable. So do you
And
have to have a single family home? Is that the only way you can have a forever home? Or is an apartment okay? Can
well,
you
and I
live
think
with, yeah,
Well, just to interrupt you for one second, when you were talking about, all those different factors that go into whether a bird's going to breed or not at a particular
right,
time. Um, it may even vary. So it's not like all blue and golds breed on Thursday, April 3rd.
sure.
It's not specific. And I think it's the same with this too, that for some, a single family home is where they will thrive. For others, a home with a lot of chaos. I mean, come on, let's be honest. Cockatoos love chaos.
Absolutely. And if there isn't any, they'll find a way to make some.
Exactly. So I mean, I didn't want to interrupt your train here, but
No,
I think it
no.
varies.
I think sometimes we have a fixation on what makes a perfect home. And that
Mhm.
is not necessarily what a bird thinks is a perfect home. And birds will adapt. So maybe a bird would enjoy that home, but if they were in a different home, they'd enjoy that too. You know, that's the whole
Yeah.
thing about the adaptability of birds. And
Mhm.
we walk a fine line in captivity with birds in captivity because most of us with pet birds don't really want them to breed. That's not why we got them, and
Mhm.
we don't want them to breed.
Yeah.
And so, what
Uh,
does it take for breeding? You have to set up a perfect environment. So, the perfect environment for a breeder pair is a little different than the perfect environment for a pet bird
yeah.
because you really don't want that pet bird to breed, and there's really no point in having a bird go through the hormonal stages wanting to breed if you know that you're not going to provide a mate and they're not going to be able to breed. That would just be uncomfortable,
Yeah.
I think.
I agree, and I think too, it varies from bird to bird, and I think it may be you talked about how people are trying to always better their homes or their
Right.
living conditions. So maybe moving from one home to something that's different may be an upgrade. And we will
It
never
might
know.
be.
We
It
can
might be.
tell how they behave, how they react. I mean, you doing the behavior consulting, a lot of that is based on watching them. So maybe they move to a different place and suddenly they've got better behavior. And it may just
Yes,
be
because actually, when birds' behavior is so dependent on their environment,
Mhm.
so when they change environments, they generally do change behaviors.
Yeah.
Their their day-to-day behaviors change because it's based on that environment.
Hmm.
So,
And I
but
think with a
what
lot
I was
of animals,
thinking, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think with a lot of animals, when we look at behavior, we see you kind of get what you give. And so, dependent on who makes up the flock, for lack of a better term, yeah, perfect is the enemy of good enough. So, defining maybe if a bird comes and lives with me, I may respond in one way versus if a bird goes to you, or say I send you my bird. I say, okay, Jamie, I think this bird would be better, happier, quote unquote, with you, and I send that bird, you are probably going to see very different behavior than what I
Yes,
see.
because
So,
you inadvertently have trained certain behaviors. He's
mhm,
learned certain behaviors. One of the problems that I have with people rehoming their own bird when they're unhappy with it is they will pass along all the behaviors that the bird has been doing and the
Yeah.
way they respond to them, like that's how they're supposed to respond. But
Hmm.
the fact is, they've been reinforcing those bad behaviors all this time, and now you've just handed that outline over and told the new people to do the same thing that drove you crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he
Douglas says
screamed
they
one
breed.
time and I couldn't stand it. But this is what I did when he screamed.
Yeah.
So why not do
Well,
something different?
and I think we're kind of, this is a little off topic, but we label those behaviors. So he's a
Yeah,
screamer, he's a
yeah,
biter, aggressive, and then we take that and we bundle it up and we rehome the bird. Okay,
yes,
so now he goes and he's a biter, screamer, aggressive bird. Okay,
yeah.
so I'm going to open
Because
that
when he
cage.
screams, I give him a treat and he shuts up. So now, is that
Well,
going to make him scream more often?
yeah,
Probably.
yeah. So we've got a comment here that I hope I continue to be the best home possible for our birds, but if it isn't the case, I hope I can make the right decision.
Well,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And I,
absolutely.
yeah, and
So
it's not
that's
an
the other
easy.
problem. When we set people up and we say that, like, Forever Home looks like somebody who's home all day, someplace that doesn't have other pets, someplace where you can have a separate play area for all your birds so they can be out all day, every day. Um, that's that's great. I mean, I know a lot of birds who live that life and they love it. But
Mhm.
does that mean that that's the only way they can be happy? So now, if mom goes back to work, or for some reason something comes up, she can't work from home anymore, or any number of reasons, does that mean she has to get rid of her bird because she can now not provide the best forever home that she wanted to provide?
So
Well,
when I
I
first
think,
saw your slide, this one, I went single or married birds, but you're talking about people's lifestyles. And it's true, though, you know, just because something changes, the bird may adapt, but if you as the human, the caregiver, can no longer provide what you have learned the bird needs, it's not it's not a judgment on you that you know you may need to rehome this bird.
no, that's very
uh,
true. But also, it's not the end of the world if you reassess the things that you're doing and say, I can't do this anymore.
yeah, I
Excuse
would
me.
rather, that's okay, I would rather have you say to me, I can't do this anymore.
Sure.
And okay, I tried this and this and I still can't do it anymore, then just go on and not provide a positive environment.
Well, but what is a perfect environment for a bird? Do you maybe you don't spend as much individual time with them, but you buy them some extra toys, or
Mhm.
you put in a TV for them and play videos for them, or you change the sleep schedule. These things are not horribly terrible things. If the bird loves you, if you have a relationship with the bird will probably be just, happy staying with you.
Yeah.
To send him to another home, and I'm not against rehoming. If you just can't do it, if you feel like the bird's going to be better served by moving on, I think you should rehome without guilt. It's okay.
Mhm.
But if you're doing it just because you're working too much overtime right now, isn't that kind of a permanent solution to a temporary problem? I'm
Yeah.
traveling a lot in the next 6 months, so I'm going to get rid of the bird I've had for 10 years, as
Mhm.
opposed to making some adjustments in the bird's life and telling him, hey, It'll get better. I'll be through with this in December. Um,
Yeah.
isn't that maybe a better choice?
Hmm. Yeah. And
I
this
don't know.
is,
I can't answer that question for everybody, but I think it's something people need to think about. It's not.
and it
Now,
may not
certainly,
be, oh, I
if
was
the
just going to
issue
say,
is that your spouse can't stand the noise and you have tried to get help from a behavior consultant and you are not able to fix the noise issue, then rehoming your bird is better than putting them in the garage. Absolutely.
yeah. Yeah. And I
But
think, like, so Carrie Ellen at Bird Gardens of Naples, she and I have talked about, so I created the pet care vault for the continuation of care for people. And Carrie and I talked about, she gets calls all the time, and I'm sure you do too, about, I have to rehome my bird. It's just not going to work. I don't know what to do. And the first question should be, in my opinion, can I help? Is there any way
right,
we can make
what
this
is the
this happen?
problem?
Um, but I think, that somebody, I can't remember who it was, somebody mentioned there was a comment about birds being nomadic. And, as long as, and Adrian made the comment that with some exceptions, the best home is where the bird is.
Yeah,
So what needs to change in that environment? And it's okay. Like you said in the beginning, birds are very they'll adapt. They're very adaptive and they're willing to, okay, let's go with the flow. And you may see behavior you don't want to see if there's
yeah,
that transition to a new home. But it's not because, I don't know. We'll never know for sure. But my opinion is birds aren't sitting in your home going, this is where I'm going to be for the rest of my life.
right.
I don't know. I could be wrong.
I'm here
Um,
today. This is, I
yeah.
think birds think in terms of this is what we're doing today. I've always felt like, from what I've seen, birds wake up in the morning and this is where we are and this is what we have to work with. It would be great if some people would do that. And let's make the most of today, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if tomorrow's different, because in nature, days are not the same every day. Things happen.
No.
Everybody doesn't die just because there was a hurricane,
And
you
I
know?
think that's so critical to think about that. Okay, if our birds were in the wild, if they were someplace, they had never been in captivity, and they every day it's, am I going to eat? What am I going to eat? Who am I going to eat with? Where am I going to fly to? Am I going to be E10? There are all these
Yeah.
questions that come at them every day that they
And
have to
who
deal
is
with.
going to come and eat me today? And how can I avoid that?
Exactly. And, in human care, they still have that, they're hardwired for those kind of questions.
Right,
Um, they don't live in what we define as fear, because we've created a safe environment. But moving
right,
to another safe environment is not, the end of the world.
right. I've always, when I talk about behavior, I always talk about positive, practical, and natural. I think birds have natural, hardwired behaviors that have developed over the last many, 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 many years and been passed along from generation to generation. And if we can use those behaviors to help fix a problem that we're having, then that's
Mhm.
the easiest way to fix it.
Yeah.
Practical. It has to be practical. People, if you
Yeah.
tell people, you have to go stand on your head in the corner every evening for 30 minutes and this behavior will fix itself. I don't think people are going to do that.
Mm. Yeah.
And of
And I
course, we
think,
know interactions need to be positive.
yeah. And I think too, we try a lot of times, we get, well, I'll teach them this trick or I'll teach them this fun behavior. it's so much easier, and I think you'll agree as a behaviorist that it's so much easier to capture a natural behavior.
Yes.
Yeah, and so why try to create all this magical stuff when we can just take a simple behavior and use that to change behavior? And Douglas brought up a
Reinforce
good
it. Yeah,
yeah.
reinforce it, put it on cue.
But Douglas brought up a good point. In nature, they don't survive as long as they do in captivity.
That's very true. And I think people don't understand that.
Mhm.
Um, I talk about at the end of my talk, my point is that maybe a bird farm, a breeding facility, may be the best forever home for many birds, and that's something that pet owners just are very resistant to. Like they just think that's a horrible thing.
Mhm.
One of the phrases that I hear them use a lot is a bird being used for breeding. And it's just funny because I don't, we don't think that way about people. Um, I don't think we
Yeah.
do. I know
You know,
a lot of men, especially, who would love to live in that situation. But
the breeding
uh, being having a mate that you
Mhm.
are with for the rest of your life, who you raise children with when it's suitable for you, when you're comfortable with it, I think that's not a bad life.
No.
As a matter of fact, being real honest, I think the oldest birds live in pairs in breeding
Mhm.
farms.
Yeah.
If you interview 100 pet people and ask them how old their bird is, and then you
Mhm.
interview 100 breeders and ask them, how old is your oldest bird? I think a lot of people would be very surprised to
Mhm.
learn that the breeding facility has much older birds
Yeah.
because the stress has been alleviated, the danger has been alleviated, they're
Mhm.
fed well, um, their natural instincts are not being suppressed,
Yeah.
and they can do what they want to do. If they're ready to breed, they can. If they
Mhm.
decide they don't want to complicate their lives this year, they don't have to.
Right.
So breeders don't feed birds based on how many babies they've produced.
Yeah. No, and I think it's that freedom of choice, if you will. Whether it's a pet bird that chooses to interact with the toys and that you give it, or that chooses to come out and be with you, that choice can be made anywhere that's
Yeah.
safe. It doesn't matter if it's my house, your house, Nick's house. We've got a comment here. I want my birds to be able to handle another caregiver in the event of my hospitalization, or so I can go on vacation and come back refreshed for the birds. That's why we created Pet Care Vault, so that other caregivers would know what the routine was. It doesn't mean it has to be rigid, because there's the Pet Care Vault, but in the wild, every day's an adventure. Every day is different.
Yes.
You know, there's no weatherman that's telling them it's going to rain tomorrow. They have
Yeah.
senses, but it's I think we get stuck with, well, this bird's used to a cashew at 8 a.m., and then they get their 5 pellets at 8:03, and then at 5 o'clock they get fresh veggies, and it doesn't happen that way.
Well, I once had, right after we started boarding, it's been probably 30 years ago, somebody
Mhm.
brought me an umbrella cockatoo, sweet bird, and she brought a Playmate cooler full
Yeah.
of little plastic containers with cut up vegetables and fruits. And she brought a piece of paper written front and back. At 8 in the morning, he gets 3 pistachios. At 9 in the morning, he gets a half a strawberry. At 10 in the morning, all day long. And I've just been cursed with an extra dose of honesty, I think. And then she told me, and then in next week, you'll run out of food, so I'm having my sister bring you more. And I said, we're not going to do this. This is not what we do, and I'm sorry, we just we don't.
Mhm.
And you can take that back with you, or um, we'll eat it in a fruit salad. But no, we're not. We don't do that. And she said, well, the lady that sold her to me told me that this is what you have to do. And I said, well, you don't. It's like a kid going away to camp. Things are different, but they survive. And I would seriously suggest that you break this down a bit, because
Mhm.
nobody can do this forever.
Yeah. And I think too, we set ourselves up to fail, and we set ourselves
Yes,
up that forever home because I'm the only one that knows Fluffy's
yes.
schedule. I'm the
There's a
only
lot of
one.
that. There's a lot of that out there. And
Yeah.
my point about the forever home is, what does a forever home look like? And there are
Mhm.
some people have some very strict rules about what a forever home looks like.
Yeah.
Some don't want other pets in the house. Some don't want small children. Some want to
Mhm.
be sure uh, that somebody is home all day, every day. It's there. When you write it all down, there's very few people in the U.S. who would qualify to be a forever home, and who knows if they like birds or not.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and Carrie said she gets the list of all the organic foods at what time, and then she also gets the bag of Pepperidge Farm goldfish with a few Oreos. Yeah, so
mhm.
it's
Yeah,
yeah,
that too. Trail mix
and
with the M&Ms mixed in. Yeah,
we
there's
go
that.
through this where we want so that all that the Oreos and the goldfish aside, you set up this routine and you set up the myth of the forever home, that this is
Yes.
the way that bird's life is going to be forever. And who knows if the bus is going to hit you as you go out, to go to work the next morning or to go get the bag of bird's food. And then that routine may change. And even if you hand it off to someone else, which is important so you can keep some continuity, but when that next home happens, the bird may change. The bird may not want the strawberry
Yeah.
at 8:15. So yeah, I think that myth is a problem. Ryan says he saw a bird at a pet store boarded, a mini macaw that would only eat white bread and water. And he
Mm.
sat on the floor trying to everything he could. Um, and you can't make them eat what they won't. Absolutely, I agree, but they'll eat. They're not going to starve to death. And I say that very glibly. I have met over the years a couple of birds that came pretty close, but they're not. They, I mean, they're going to survive unless something's going on with them.
Well, yeah, you might be sick. They might have a problem. We've been boarding for I don't know, over 30 years, and we have a lot of birds. Sometimes we never have a day without boarders, and we feed rowdy bush pellets. If you bring other food, we will dry food, not
Mhm.
strawberries and bananas. But if you bring other dry food, we will feed that to your bird if you want us to. But otherwise, we feed rowdy bush, and we've had very, very few birds over the years that just refuse to eat them. But I hear
Mhm.
people tell me all the time their bird doesn't eat pellets and they won't eat pellets. But I don't know what the difference is. I think sometimes they don't know that the bird is eating the pellets.
Mhm.
Um, but
Yeah,
we
there's
have had good
Douglas says
success.
that he thinks the more we know about parrots, the more we can help provide the best care, but we'll never
Yeah.
know the exact things they need. No, I mean, you're definitely right.
We'll never
And I think,
know all of it.
no, no. And that's why it's important to attend conferences with people with
Yes.
experience, definitely. Um, but, I think too, there's an association of birds out there. We don't know about it, it's secret. I happen to know about it. And the birds all talk amongst themselves, and they've
Yeah.
learned how to train the humans. So
Yes.
it's,
They're the best trainers in the world. I really don't think there is anything that is a better trainer than a bird. I
it's
have
true.
seen amazing things that people do for their birds, and literally the bird has trained them to do it. So,
Hmm.
and a little bit of
Yeah,
that's not too bad, but you just need to be aware that your bird is training you and decide if that's okay or not.
yeah. So as far as forever home,
Yeah, I
is
don't
there,
think
I
that
mean,
exists.
I don't either. I don't either. And I think,
What's forever? I don't know. If forever is tomorrow, today, tomorrow. I
yeah.
think a happy home is the better focus.
Hmm.
And I think that's where our brain should be is we want to provide birds a happy home where they're
Hmm.
healthy and happy and their life is good. And when
Yeah.
that stops happening, if
Hmm.
if you suddenly are in a position where you can't provide a home that makes your bird happy, then you need to look at possibly letting somebody else provide that home. I've had birds that went somewhere and then came back to the original owner.
Hmm.
So I've seen that happen more than once. And
Yeah.
that's okay. The birds were happy and the person got past their little hiccup in life and they were able to have their bird back. And it
Mhm.
was a win win for everyone.
Yeah. No, and I think to expect there to be a forever home is unrealistic because life does happen on both sides. Maybe a
Yeah,
bird is suddenly, this is not the best home because of environmental factors that are out of our control. Or,
yeah,
another a bird that they've always this is a big one. People who have more than one bird, and I've heard this before. They've got more than one bird. They've been together their whole lives. Well, suddenly bird A wants to rip bird B's throat out. It happens. And if you need to separate them and that's still not creating a calmer environment, that one of those birds may need to be rehomed.
yeah.
So is that
And then
failed?
what about the bird that matures sexually and decides that really they want to they want to breed. They
Mhm.
find something to sit on that becomes an egg for them. They form a interesting relationship with their toys, or for whatever reason, maybe a bird really and truly would rather have a mate, and that's not a bad thing. That's what they were designed for.
Yeah. And I we visited a sanctuary on the last Rockstar this year's Rockstar tour that took in a big 50 birds, and a number of them were breeders that had always, their whole lives had been breeders, and they were better suited to remain in pairs.
Yeah,
And we had a discussion with the folks at this sanctuary and said, like, hey, trying to separate them out, you're going to get bounce back. These birds are probably going to come back to you because they um, they are better suited to be together. um, yeah, Yvonne says Sam, who is her macaw, went to his previous owner's celebration of life and refused to let go of her on the way home. So Sam had, that was closing one chapter of forever. and moving on to a new wonderful chapter of Forever with Yvonne. It's, yeah, and Ryan says you nailed it. That's what they were designed for. That's the biological imperative. And I'm not saying that you know me, I'm a firm believer in responsible breeding. But
Absolutely.
everybody is not that's not what they want out of their relationship with their bird. That's not, they may just be able to handle one, or if it's two for companionship, they may not breed. It may just be birds in adjacent cages, whatever that looks like. But I think we have to understand they are that's well, for all of us, that's the biological imperative, to
Yes.
reproduce. You may choose not to, but we're built for that.
Yeah.
So
And same thing
uh,
with birds. And they do form really serious pair bonds with their mates. Most birds do. Not all birds. Some birds go through. One study showed that cockatoos get a divorce about every 7 years or so. So that
I've
explains
known
some of
people like,
the cockatoo aggression that you see.
yeah.
But a pair that is actually bonded, who's getting along, and it is an amazing thing to watch. If you've never watched a bonded pair of birds, um, it is, I don't, it's kind of a mystical, magical thing to watch. And they
Mhm.
are they are living their best life, absolutely.
Yeah.
So maybe they don't have toys, but they have each other, and I
Mhm.
think they're okay with that. Now, I agree. I believe in enrichment. I think everybody should have some enrichment, but I think that those pairs, given a choice between toys and their mate, would choose their mate.
Mhm.
But I don't think
Yeah.
that has to be a choice. I think breeder birds can certainly have toys and other
Mhm.
enrichment. But
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a magical thing to watch a pair of birds form a bond and raise a family. And
Mhm.
it is.
Yeah. And I think too, we keep hitting on it, and people are commenting, that the it's about choice. And they don't get to choose where their forever home is or where their home is. We make those choices. A lot of times we say, oh, the bird chooses its human. And in some cases that happens. But what, and Ryan says enrichment's always a must. And I think sometimes that pair bond is a critical piece of enrichment. Um,
Yeah.
but I think, the choice piece is what's most important, that they have a choice. Like we said, going back, there are all these decisions that need to be made when they're in the wild. Where am I going to eat? What am I going to eat? Who am I going to roost with? All of that. So we take all that away when they're in human care, which is okay because we just need to remember to replace those choices, to
Yeah.
give them other choices to empower them. Um,
I want them to be safe, but not bored.
right, right. Um, so I think choice, enrichment, enough space. Um, yeah, Douglas says they'll only choose their human if they're an adult. Um, Carrie said that you should have seen the enrichment going on with her today running through the Amazon flight. See, so Carrie was very enriched with those birds.
And
And,
I'm
I
sure that the
think,
birds were very enriched watching.
yes, yes. And, and that's the other piece too. We talk about forever home and how it has to be the same. If this bird comes from this situation, this environment, we want it to be the same setup, the same cage, the same food. Sometimes it's that change up that helps. Sometimes going to a different home. I mean, for me, like I don't like to anthropomorphize, but I want you guys to just think for a minute about when you go to a new city or a new you go stay at a hotel. It's so much fun to find the little soaps and all the stuff in the
Yeah,
bathroom, right? So that's what our birds get when they go to a new environment.
yeah.
It's that discovery piece that happens more than once in their lifetime. And I think that's important.
Well, I think when birds do go from one home to another, I always recommend that they get a different cage because a lot of times a bird who has lived in the same cage forever is a little bit more territorial when he goes to a new home
Mhm.
because that is his home, and he doesn't want people reaching in and out or walking close or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think if you're going to make
Yeah,
a change, change.
and that's a great point because a lot of times when you think about a cage with a door, when you open that door and you stick your hand in, you have now in essence stuck your hand into a nest cavity.
Yeah,
And you know, it's just so much invasion of space. And if it's somewhere that they always, you know, that they are used to, they are territorial about, um, that can cause some problems. Yeah, Michelle says that Mark might hear that I like being away from home. I don't. I like it here in Maine in the cold. But you know, as far as routine, Jamie,
yes,
you know, when you move, they move from one home to another, or um, there isn't a good rehoming. I think is the even rehoming is kind of not a great term. Maybe when they move. How about that? Let's do that. When they
yeah. When
move
they
to a
move,
new, when they
move to
move
a
to a
new
new,
environment.
there we go. Jamie and I are changing the verbiage tonight. We're no longer going to say rehoming. We're going to say moving to a new environment. Uh,
Moving to a new environment, making new friends.
there we go. Routine. Do you suggest that people maintain that routine that they've had or
No,
yeah,
I
yeah.
really suggest that you do a routine that works for you and your household, and the bird will adapt.
Mhm. Yeah.
If you do his routine, you're kind of setting him up to think that it's going to be the same forever,
Mhm.
um, because that's what he knows. And so that's how it's always been done. So therefore, we're going to keep doing it that way, obviously, forever, but not
Mhm.
really. Your house is different. Your routine is different. Your flock is different. You have to do what works for you. If that bird is used to getting his breakfast at 9 in the morning and you have to leave to
Mhm.
go to work at 7, how are you going to work that out?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's that has always been one of my things when I work on behavior stuff. It's the strict routine because I have a lot of people tell me, "Oh, you know, where I bought that, where I, you know, bought this bird, where I got this bird from, they told me that I have to stick to a routine." Clearly, none
yeah,
of those people commute to work because
yeah,
now that I'm in Maine, I don't have to worry about that because there's never any traffic on the highway, but unless there's a deer or a moose in the middle of the road. But when I was in Boston or, you know, down in Houston or any of the big cities, you might get stuck on the highway and not be home in time for the 5 o'clock dinner bell. And then we all know you're going to have that screaming fill in the parrot species blank when you get home,
yeah. Well, and in the meantime, they were worried that maybe you're dead on the highway somewhere. Maybe she's
right?
not ever going to come home. I don't know. How would I know? How would I? Who would call me? What would I do? Why make them go through that? And sometimes we eat
Yeah.
at 5, sometimes we eat at 7, but we
Mhm.
always eat.
Yeah. I have to admit, I have created a beast in our cat. Um, she she has very specific. times that she has chosen to eat. And
Yeah.
it's very much a routine. And if I'm in the middle of doing something, I generally get claws attached to my legs with her looking and meowing that, clearly you need to stop what you're doing and come feed me. And I, being the behavior, study person, go, No, not right this second. You need to wait a little bit and you need to sit there. And when you sit there, then it will go. So it's changing up that routine. And Douglas brings up a good point. He says parrots need change to keep them mentally challenged. It's true.
Yeah.
It's definitely true.
I
Um,
don't think any
yeah,
2 days are exactly alike in the wild. So
no,
why is every day supposed to be alike in your home?
yeah,
I would be
yeah.
bored.
Yes, absolutely. Um, Douglas says they have a hard time with change in Canada. Oh, I'm close, Douglas. I'm almost to Canada, but I haven't crossed that border yet. Um, and Michelle said, that was the first thing the vet said to her 27 years ago when she got Shadow. She says she laughed and told him that that was not going to happen. The routine was not going to happen. And she's so glad that she didn't, because when life changed, Shadow was able to adapt.
Yeah.
And I think we really get upset about if there are stressors in our birds' lives. There's that stress of going to that new environment. There's the stress of a new routine. Well, when you think about the stressors that birds have in the wild, they're multitudinous. And when you think about coping skills, the best bird is one that can roll with the punches, in my opinion. One that,
The
hey, oh,
happiest
different.
bird.
Yeah,
I don't know that it's the best bird, but it's the happiest bird.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah,
And
it's
that's true of children too. Rolling with the punches is an important life skill.
yeah, absolutely. And so chaos should now reign in all of your houses. There should be no routine, and we won't have to worry about any of them having to move to new environments. Because as Carrie mentioned, they're not rescues. They're formerly well-loved birds, or
Yeah,
well-loved
I used to
birds.
refer to it as previously loved. But
There
then
you
I thought, well,
go.
that's not right because we love them. So they had a home where they were loved, but then they came to us where we loved them. So they're still loved,
Continually loved. We need to come up with some new
continually
terms,
loved.
yeah.
Yes.
Maybe on the comments, after we're done, you can send some new comments, and Jamie and I will start this revolution that's going to change the terminology in the bird world.
Yeah.
So, final words on a forever home, Jamie. What are we going to tell people?
Oh, life is not forever.
It's true. It's very true.
Nothing is forever.
Yeah. Oh, Ellie came up with a new
All we
term:
ever have is today.
perpetually loved.
Perpetually loved. I like that.
That's good. Flock love, Ryan says. It's a creative bunch we got here. But thank you so much, Jamie, for taking time. And we kind of went in some different directions than I thought we would. But one thing I just wanted people to take away from this was the statistics that you're seeing out there about how many homes parrots have over the years, are absolutely inflammatory.
And
That
they're made
the
up.
st- they are made up. They are,
They have no basis in reality.
yeah,
But
yeah.
even if they
So,
did, birds still change homes very easily. I moved around a lot as a kid. Some people, my
mhm,
husband, lived in the same home where his parents lived when he was born until we got married. And
hmm,
me, if people say, "Where did you grow up?" It's like, well, I don't know what period of time. When I was
yeah,
10, or when I was 12, or when I was 5. So
mhm,
it's okay. It's really
yeah.
okay.
It is okay. And Chris says home is where my happy is. So I think that's the most
Absolutely.
important. Yeah. So thank you, Jamie, and thank you guys for spending the evening with us. A couple of things I just need to to let you guys know, next week I will have Dr. Stephen Fraunfeld on. He's a veterinarian down in Texas. We'll be talking about all things bird. No, we'll narrow that down a tiny bit, but that's as far as we've got so far. So he'll be on next Friday. There's still time to join the foraging flock. Oh, Parrot Festival 2026. Jamie and I will be there.
Yes, we
January
will.
23rd, 25th. It's a fabulous time. When it says it's the most joyous gathering of parrot enthusiasts in the world, it's true.
It
It really
absolutely
is.
is.
That's where I met Jamie and the crew a lot of years ago, and I value every single parrot festival that I've been able to be at. So, um, it's not too late to join the foraging flock. We meet once a month. We talk about all kinds of things. It's a very safe space. And you can do that on the Leather Elves Facebook, the Leather Elves page, theletherelves.equid.com. You can also, we've got the pet care vault going on. And we've got a sale going on right now. This is the stock up sale. We guarantee you that if you order by the 11th of November, that's when the sale ends. It's 40% off. You will have your toys in time for the holidays. The holidays being Hanukkah and Christmas. I can't promise anything by Thanksgiving, but we will have your orders to you by then. It's a great time to stock up and see, get your stuff in and get ready for 2026 and for the season. So Pet Care Vault, petcarevault.com. This is a place where you can designate a caregiver, put down your information, put your vet records, put your routines, things like that. And if something were to happen to you, a QR code gets generated that would then pass that information on to your designated caregiver. So you can check that out at petcarevault.com. All right. Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you again, Jamie. I'm not going to see you till January, but I'm sure we'll talk before that.
Right.
And anybody down in Texas, you need to go to ABC Birds. Anybody
Yes.
that needs help with a bird, some behavior stuff. Jamie, how do they get in touch with you for that?
Parrot help at abcbirds.com.
All right. So you guys take care, and we will see you next week. Have a good week.
Thank